Good afternoon, everyone, to the first discussion panel. My name is Jakob. I'm the Vice President, and I'm a blessed father of 5 kids. 3 of them are adults, and 2 of them are minor. And then also I have 9 grandchildren. I'm pleased to welcome you from all over the world to this important Protect 2022 conference. A special warm greetings to all our participants internationally. They are multiplicators to these issues in their countries, like in Indonesia, in Sri Lanka, and in many other countries. This is now the Q&A moment where you are, as participant, can ask questions by using the Zoom chat, and our specialist will answer or give concrete advices which will help you and others. Now to the first international panel, to the question, what must I do, what must I know to protect my child? And Dr. Wendy Patrick will be the first to answer. Hello.
Hi.
My English, I have to apologize. My English. I'm from Swiss German part, and English is not my language that I speak every day. So from your years of prosecuting, do you believe the legal words is doing enough to these child sexual exploitation and trafficking issues?
Yes, I know we could always do more. And I think that's always going to be the answer when we literally live in a world where we simply can't keep up with all the different methods that so many of the predators are using to gain access to our children. You of all people with 5 kids and all those grandkids, you probably are acutely aware of all the associations and all the resources that are being devoted to keeping the streets safe, only to turn around and realize there's a new avenue with which we have predators and others that are gaining access to these communication channels. We saw that in full force during the pandemic. We saw it all over the world when we had virtual methods of educating our kids, virtual methods of allowing them access where some of them didn't even have internet before. We not only got them access to the education they needed, but also inadvertently and unintentionally gave other people access to them. So we saw a lot of that during the course of the pandemic, and legally we are catching up and finding ways in which we can counteract some of the new communication methods that have cropped up over the last 2 years. And I am hopeful we will continue that trend to be able to keep up with the bad guys, outrun them, and make sure we can keep our kids safe.
The thing needs to be done to improve legal support to fight against child sexual exploitation and trafficking.
The main thing legally that we can do is ensure that we have victim witness support that's on the same page as the children. That means they have to know how to talk to kids. Some parents don't know how to talk to kids. It's one of those traits and one of those absolute talents that can be cultivated, even in a day and age where we do have to know what they're doing, what they're listening to, what they're interested in. And I think that legally we can continue to cultivate the skills and recruit the talent, recruit people that want to do this job, recruit people that know how to do this job. And only by those kinds of people that can get the kids to open up can we get the information we need to be able to tailor the services to support and to empower and inspire our young people.
What is your advice to survivors and families engaging the legal system for justice?
The advice is to take advantage of everything that we offer globally. There are so many services that are offered that sometimes victims and their families don't know about. Now, that's often the fault of some of the agencies that aren't transparent and aren't very forthcoming and proactive in offering these services. But ask questions. What services are available? Is there financial support? Is there money? Is there medical care? Are there therapy options, psychological support? By asking these questions, it can open really the way to making sure that both our survivors and their families have access to everything they need to make a full recovery and lead a productive life.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
To Dr. Rebecca Muller, if she is here. In addition that what you talk to us about on the trauma, which additional area of protection you might want to emphasize to our audience?
Well, I think that Dr. Wendy has talked very much about how to protect regarding the internet. But I think that one of the things that I would stress is that you have to strengthen the child's boundaries. I mean, it's so important that the child knows that they can say no. It sounds simple, but I think that those children who really get along in life, they have strong boundaries and they know how to defend themselves. I remember, sorry, I have to talk about my own family. I once remember that my youngest son was 11 years old, and he was sent a letter from the church. It was about when they were going to have the junior club again. I opened the letter and to saw it, and when he came home, he saw that I have opened his letter, and he was so angry because I stepped over his boundaries. So I think that we have to stress to let the children, to have the children have strong boundaries, that you don't go into the room without knocking the door. You don't go in and look in the cupboards, whatever. You respect that they have a life, a personal life, and they need to have this so that they can have this when they go out in the world, when they are become grown up. They have these boundaries around them so they can defend themselves. This is what I mean. It's one of the. I think it's so important. And you know, when I think of all the clients I have seen, their boundaries were that they didn't have any boundaries. Often because of abuse, but also often because they were not allowed to have boundaries because of the parents. They overview or they supervise them too much. They control them too much. That's what I would say about this.
Yes. How important is it for people to consider training themselves of how to handle these issues, even if they don't have an immediate victim around them?
Is it still me? Okay.
Did you get the questions?
Well, is it me who is going to answer it, or is everyone?
No, it's your questions, Dr. Weidel.
Okay. I think that all of us are in contact with children. Either you have your own children, you have friends who have children, you meet them maybe in the workplace, or it could be neighbors' children. You need to know what it is, what the sexual abuse is about. You need to know. I mean, you can be the one who can maybe support the family if some of the children there are abused. Or you can be someone who is promoting something which can be a help for parents or for the children who have been abused, or for parents to be educated about what it is and how to handle the abuse in the society. I mean, I'm sorry, I'm referring to myself. I started my association together with someone else because I was angry because of the unrighteousness the children experienced. First of all, it was in the churches. I was so angry about it. So I had to do something about it. And I hope that the people understand that this is not something just for families. It's a subject that everyone should share in and do something about all over the world.
Thank you. Mr. Hochhalter, your questions to you. Why do 80% of victims end up back in the hand of their exploiters or traffickers?
That's a fabulous question. And to be quite honest with you, I think that it's glaring as you talk with victims. The trauma bond that takes place between a victim and a trafficker or a predator is something that we are now just beginning to understand. And for me to tell you that I understand it completely would just be false. I'm learning as I meet more and more of those who have been victimized and exploited. But the trauma bond is so deep, and the hooks in the mind of those who are being exploited, those who are being abused and tortured, is something that we need to learn, and learn it quickly if we are truly going to be a victim-centered advocate. One of the other reasons is that a lot of victims, when they are offered a chance of rescue or restoration, or a removal from the life that they find themselves in, there's simply no place for them to go. There is not a bed available in a restoration home. There's not availability for therapy. There's not availability for job training. There's not availability for them to care for themselves. And so we have to, whether it's in the United States or in Europe or Africa, wherever it is, we've got to meet those basic needs of those who have been victimized for them to have the desire and the want to stay outside of the life and to begin that walk towards fullness and wholeness in their life.
In addition to what you shared yesterday, what aspects about grooming would you like to provide us with more information, particularly in light of what the Lifeguard Group is doing?
Well, just exactly what the Protect 2022 conference is doing is bringing that awareness. Knowledge is power, and to have that knowledge as a parent, I am astounded at the number of parents that again are uninvolved. Ms. Miller talked about it, and very passionately, she saw the problem and got involved. And I think what parents need to understand is if they know the signs, if they know what to listen for and what to look for when your child's vocabulary becomes over sexualized, when they show up at home and they have goods that they could not afford on their own, or they have money that you have no idea where it came from, or they have these friendships that you have no idea who these people are. You have permission as a parent to engage and to interject yourself into that situation. But there are ways that we can protect our kids on the preventative side before any of those things happen. Here in the United States, we have different terminologies. One is a helicopter parent, one that hovers over their children and seems to not let them have the freedom. Well, I know that there are some dangers of being a helicopter parent, but I will tell you this, that I would rather see parents be a hovering parent than an absent parent. Be involved, be knowledgeable, know what to look for. The signs are simple. They're right in front of us. And that's why we use this term, it's hidden in plain sight. If we as parents are aware, if we as parents are knowledgeable, we can then be the gatekeeper for our children. And that's what our responsibility is.
What are the painful or rewarding moments in your work as you engage both victims and the families?
Oh, there are some rewarding times. It seems, however, even statistics show us, of those that go missing or those that are recruited into the life, that a very low number are rescued or restored or found. So that in itself is heartbreaking. But one of the most rewarding things is we had a young lady who was taken from our town, and we're not a large city. We're large in our area, but in comparison to metropolitan areas, we're very small. And this young girl was taken from one of our local schools. She had been groomed, she was recruited and taken and sold across the state, even across state lines. And she had the chance to be rescued. And she accepted that rescue. She accepted the chance. She was set in a place to find that place of healing, that place of restoration. Things were supplied for her, except the therapy. There was no therapy offered to her, and she fell back into the life. And her drug addiction reignited. There was no support for her and her child. She was living in her car, and we lost touch with her for about 6 months. And we felt like we failed her. We had no place that we could offer. It was one of the things that motivated us in our organization to begin to build a home, to house those who had been victimized and to offer deep therapeutic options for them. And so it was heartbreaking. But about a month and a half ago, I received a text message on my phone, and she said, "I'm still here. I'm getting better, but I need your help." I could feel the desperation. I could hear the desperation in her voice, but that desperation caused an excitement within inside of me to know that she trusted us enough to call us back and to say, "I want to come home. I need help." And so, yes, there are times that are definitely disappointing and bring heartbreak, but it's those times where you see a glimpse of hope that you grab onto and you hold on to those, and that's what motivates you to keep going.
Thank you. That's really a great thing. To Mr. Keith, you are here, I guess. The Guardian Group seems to be actively involved in the search and rescue aspects of fighting sexual exploitation and trafficking. What can you tell us about what you do and how you work with?
Yeah, thanks again for letting me be here. So Guardian Group does two things. So we have what's called an offensive side and a defense side. So the defense side is more prevention through education. So we'll provide sector-specific training and education to law enforcement, task forces, multidisciplinary teams, hotels, people that intersect this problem. So that's our defense, because that's very important. It's super important. And we saw that from the very beginning, is that when we would go talk to law enforcement, for instance, so few of them were trained on this problem, and causing, even calling girls whores, and they deserve to be here. And there's a change that's happened over the years because of, this prevention side. And then we have an offense side. And our offense side, we utilize the skills and expertise of very elite military veterans who are coming from pretty much the most elite unit in the military from the intelligence side. And we partner up with law enforcement. So we are supporting law enforcement. Here in the United States, they are the ones doing the work. They're doing an incredible job. So we come alongside, and we do a very good job at identifying and locating victims of trafficking. And so we get that information to law enforcement. We had somebody very similar to Dr. Patrick. He's a DA in the area that we work with really closely. And he had written us a letter just a couple of months ago where he had said over the last year and a half, because of the work that we provided with them, they were able to identify and recover over 100 victims. Half of those numbers are based because of Guardian Group. And then the other part, which we don't talk about a lot, but it's the identification of traffickers. So they were able to go after some traffickers as well. And so the work that we do, it's not like we don't care who gets the credit. That's one of the foundational values that we have as a group, is we don't care who gets the credit. We work with other folks that are really capable at doing a great job, whether it's with victim support or with law enforcement. And we come alongside and offer our services free of charge for that reason, is because we're all on the same team. We're not in these silos. Anytime you have a group that's working in a silo, we kind of stay away from that, because we really do not care who gets the credit, and actually appreciate when we give that credit away to others.
You spoke yesterday about child prostitutes, pornography, and the escort phenomenon. Which of them is the most challenging to engage as you carry on your work through the Guardian Group?
Well, anytime you have an issue when affecting a child, it's super hard. So as a team, we do a good job of making sure that our team is protected and in a healthy place. Anytime we see a child abused, that wrecks your heart. And part of it too is, to be honest, I think that's also what keeps us going, is because, I've got, we've had a lot of stories of how this has happened to kids and women and men too. And those are things that should fuel us, and they do fuel us. I have an image of a time when I was on a training somewhere, and I was in a hotel one night, and I just sat back on the edge of my bed, and all I could think about was this girl sitting at the edge of the bed. And for me, all I could think about was I was saying sorry, because I had this image and this vision of this girl who was there outside of her will. She was super afraid, super scared, and there's no way out for her. And I could only apologize. And I was saying, oh man, I wish I could do more. I wish I could do more. I wish I could do more. And over the years, we got tired of saying sorry. And part of it is that's led us to a place of being very effective at what we do, because I don't want to say sorry anymore. I want to have, at the end of my life, the ability to say I've done my best. And as a group, we're doing our best, and we're seeing some really good things happening in light of a really tough issue and a really hard problem. And we're seeing some great folks coming alongside each other and working on this problem together, some of which are here on this panel too. It's like, this is how it's going to be effective in solving a problem. Gary Haugen, who's really kind of a forefather in this whole movement, had said something years back that said, the victims of injustice in our world don't need spasms of passion. They need our long obedience in that same direction, our legs and lungs of endurance. And that's what's exciting, is that over the last few years of being in this, I've been in this field for, I think, about 15 or 16 years. You're seeing that. You're seeing people coming together, working together, and we're starting to see maybe a little bit of a decline. Because one of the things I want to see, or the vision that we have, is that we don't see this continued growth of child exploitation. In my lifetime, I want to see that curve down and start to see that these kids are being recovered and they're free, and they live a life of freedom, and their innocence is reclaimed.
Thank you. Mrs. Charity Parissini, I guess you are also here?
Yes.
Yeah. I see you. You have significant experience within the Hollywood world that is known to be the serious promoter what could be considered as the sexualization of our societies. Why the American Iron Chain Project? How can it help to fight child sexual exploitation and trafficking?
Wow, that is a great question. Yes, I have been around people who, in my opinion, their value system is different than mine when it comes to what they would call artistic expression and art. I, however, have found that if they have children, especially if they have grandchildren, if you put it on a one-to-one relational level, they love their children and they want to keep their children safe. Again, I feel like Dr. Muller, of course, has touched on this. Dr. Patrick has touched on this. Their lens of how they see the world is very different than mine. The boundaries that they set for their children are, in my opinion, often far too liberal, if there are boundaries at all. And it is usually because that's how they were raised. They were raised in an environment that had very loose, if not non-existent boundaries. And they don't necessarily see that they've been abused themselves or they themselves have been used to sexualize culture. So it's easier to talk in terms one-on-one with them rather than in broad terms. But what I wanted to do with the America Unchained Project was to use my skill set to bring attention to this issue. It's been one step at a time. As you know, production is not often something that doesn't cost money if you want to do it well. But the people that have walked alongside us have been truly world-renowned people in what they do, either forerunners or experts in areas that often go ignored. Lowell, for example, is an expert in rural communities, which are often ignored. He also has many other levels of expertise, but he and I have partnered many times on projects and we work side by side. There's other people that I know, Dr. Jim Mazza, Dr. Lok Patel, who's now on CNN, a lot of Dr. Lois Thedford, a lot of different people who, when they heard what we were trying to do to use media to promote this, they were excited. I think what I've learned that I would want everyone to hear, though, in addition to my personal goal, which is to create well-told, true stories, to get people's message that are experts out for them. See, the thing is we can only be an expert in one, maybe two things. So if I take my gifting and my expertise in media, and I unite with someone like Dr. Wendy Patrick, or I unite with someone like Lowell Hochhalter, and I say, I don't know what you know, but you don't know what I know. How do we work together? So I can take my media expertise of production and hire my team to come in and we just sit and listen to what Lowell has to say. We sit and listen to what Dr. Patrick has to say. We don't try to shape their words for them. They're powerful in their expertise and we just want to magnify their voice. So I feel like the biggest hope for the America Unchained Project is not to do what in America we call reinventing the wheel. We simply want to magnify voices through production value that is high and through stories that are not manipulated, but that are well executed so that we can take all of the people who already know what they're saying and their passion and their love and their deep, devoted, lifelong work and simply magnify it in a way that reaches people all over the world.
Thank you. In terms of the kind of contents that finds their way into homes and children minors, what is your advice to people in general and households in particular to help them fight such sexualization and its related to evil menace?
Excellent question again. The most common building block of keeping things away from your children is to do exactly what Dr. Muller said, also what Mr. Hochhalter said, and you need to know what they're watching. You need to know who they're talking to on social media. You need to see the videos. Just because it says it's made for children doesn't mean it's actually made for children. It could be grooming children. It could be there are well-known companies in the world, incredibly well-known companies, that when you watch some of the things they've created for children, the messaging is to not trust your parents. The messaging is to not tell mom and dad things. The ultimate message is to portray the parents maybe as someone you can't feel safe with, or in a teenager's, maybe a teenager's point of view, parents won't understand you. They actually create a narrative that pits child against parent. But because parents often don't watch the media their children are watching, they say that 89% of parents don't even know what their children do on social media. 89%. So the first and foremost way to combat the over-sexualization of our children, or the messaging that is saying that our children shouldn't trust us, is to know what your children watch. I would also personally encourage children and parents, when you have your cell phone, or if your child is old enough to have a tablet or a cell phone, create a place in the home where that phone or that tablet lives at night. Absolutely no internet access in your room. That is an opportunity for groomers to reach out to your children at that point, and groomers often pretend to be children online. You have to understand that. It's what Lowell said earlier. You've got to know who your children are talking to. But I would say media, when it's constantly being fed into a child, it changes the way they think about the world. We should be the ones who are shaping the way our children think about the world. And we need to be on guard against media as if that is a stranger talking to your child and feeding them a worldview, because that's exactly what it is. It is media for children, or media for teens, or media for adults is a stranger. It isn't a family friend. It's a stranger. So we need to be on guard at all times of what our children are watching, what messages they're receiving. And that takes time and investment in knowing what they're watching. And it may be that you have to say, I can't let you watch that until mom and dad have a chance to watch it first. My children have grown up hearing me say that. I'm sorry, I haven't watched that movie yet. And until mom or dad have a chance to watch it, you can't watch it, so that I can preview the messaging they're hearing.
Very good advice. Thank you so much. Thank you to all of you. This is just amazing to have you on board and to hear you. Thank you so much for your precious time and knowledge shared with us. Thanks for all advice and to take actions and to stay firm and strong. And thank you again to help us to protect our children. Thank you so much to each one of you.